Hi, I'm Mike McGee, Executive Director of the Rocking Chair Project. Over the past 9 years, the Rocking Chair Project, in partnership with family medicine physicians nationwide, has provided glider rocking chairs to economically disadvantaged moms who have recently given birth. During a home visit, physicians throughout America have joined parents in assembling the chairs and celebrating new life. Those visits have had a profound impact not only on the mothers, children, and families, but also on the physicians themselves. In response to the physicians' requests, we've now partnered with our nation's premier early childhood education and advocacy organization, 0 to 3, to create materials to assist physicians in their interactions with these new parents, both in their homes and during their healthcare visits. Thanks to a grant from the United Health Foundation, we're able to bring to you this online training tool featuring Claire Lerner from 0 to 3 and Trish McGee, our co-founder and an early childhood educator herself. Their advice is practical, useful, and simple. It comes from many years of experience and a wealth of knowledge, and is designed to further enhance the effectiveness of the Rocking Chair Project's home visits.
The fact is that healthcare professionals, doctors and nurses who see families are always rank up there with the people that have the absolute most influence on families, and that it's sort of the golden rule to families. So what you impart to them, they take so very seriously. And a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is sort of connecting parents, using empathy, validating what they're going through. Can really be life-changing for parents. And I don't say that lightly. The Rocking Chair Project is doing a lot of work around empathy between doctors and families, and the results are really profound. The first 3 months is really all about just having the baby feel safe in the world. And so just them feeling calm and comfortable is really the goal. It's after 3 months that the baby's really, they're now in a place neurologically where they're much more action-oriented, but it also sort of gives the parents sort of a breather that's really all you need to do, is calm them, help them feel soothed, talk with them, sing to them, but it's okay to relax, and the rocking chair is a great place to do that. One really, really important message for moms of newborns is this whole idea of trial and error. Moms and dads are so hard on themselves as a group, being new parents, and it can be very freeing to a parent to know that there's not one right way. All of us have been there. It's really, really hard to hear your baby cry, but it's so great how you're trying all these different ways to soothe her. And you know what? That's what's important, is that you're there for her. It may not always work, but you're hanging in there with her, and that's what's really important. And you'll find the right thing eventually. That's very important, because parents are they get less frustrated if they don't have a sense of, I'm a failure now, and then they get really, and then they just get more abrupt. You're basically saying to them, relax, it's okay. You can try different things, and they give themselves a break, and it's very, very, important for them and the baby that the parent hang in there. The rocking chair gets delivered to the family's house a few days before the resident goes out and does the visit. And when you get there, the question is, how do you orchestrate it based on what's happening? And if the baby's sleeping, the gold standard is to make it a joint endeavor, because it can be a real bonding. And you'll see through some of the examples of residents writing about their experience how powerful it can be, just sort of that joint venture, and the enormous impact it has on the family, that like their doctors there and on their hands and knees, literally struggling together and getting frustrated together and wanting to hurl the thing across the floor. It's very, very powerful in creating that kind of bond that makes it much more likely that you're going to have a much bigger impact on that family. So that's ideal, to do it together. The goal is, of course, for them to see it as, again, a way to really connect with their baby, so that it's a way to soothe the baby by rocking together. It's a way to share a quiet moment. It's a way, it's a time for cuddling and singing. And the other thing that I find when you see moms with babies in rocking chairs is they'll often just start talking to them and start telling them stories. And I always use that as an opportunity to really help the parents see how important passing on family stories is.
And the one thing we say, you know, we're describing the rocking chair, and we said we wanted to let you know that it comes with a glider ottoman because you've gone through a lot right now, and you're exhausted, and you know, putting your feet up and feeling comfortable with all the time that you're going to be spending feeding your baby is terrific, because you know, we want the rocking chair to be for both you and your baby, and that's why we're so excited that your doctor chose you to receive this. And you know, we know that you're going to enjoy this rocking chair for years and years and years. And so we emphasize that this is for you too.
I'm going to share with you what I think is a really compelling video. It's just 2 minutes, but it really very powerfully illustrates just how deeply affected babies are by the interactions they have with their parents. We call this the still face, and here's what you're going to see. They ask a mom. They put a baby like in a you know, like a car seat, you know, or a baby seat, and they have the mom and there's no coaching. They literally just take any mom and say, just interact with your baby like you normally would. Okay, so she does that. And then they say, after just, you know, maybe a minute, they ask the mom to turn away briefly and then look back at the baby with a complete still face. No emotion, not positive or negative. And you see the reaction that it draws from the baby. And then they ask her to, again, turn away, look back at the baby, and go back to what she did, what she would naturally have done initially. And it's pretty profound. You see the change in the baby's reaction when the mom changes her reactivity to the baby. Okay?
In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby who's about a year of age. And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her. This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this. And then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother better. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, "Come on, why aren't we doing this?" Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions. They turn away. They feel the stress of it. They actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
A lot of times when you work with parents, no matter the education level, they don't necessarily really get how much communication is going on the part of the baby. The pointing and the reaching, and you hear this very young baby using whatever tool she has in her repertoire to try and get this mom to respond. And you can see that pretty starkly as well, because it's almost more pronounced when the mom's not responding, because you're just focusing on this baby sort of desperately trying to get the mom's attention. And then you see within probably 5 seconds when the mom turns around this incredible sense of relief. So you know, it's a good sort of teaching tool to really remind us of just how important that bond is. And really, that's the entire purpose of the Rocking Chair Project, is to provide a way to really help moms understand how critical that bond is, and to actually sort of give them a tool that promotes that and makes that bond, easier to make happen. what you can see is that a mother's affect has an enormous impact on the baby. And so you can imagine what it's like for a baby to be with a depressed mom. And so one of the things we talked about a lot last time is not wanting you guys to feel pressured, like, what am I going to do if I uncover all these things? Like, what if I do say to a mom, you know what, you look like it looks like it's really tough for you right now. It's very common to feel blue or even depressed. You know, what's it like for you? And then the mom opens up because someone cares about her. One of the things we talked about is that you guys aren't expected to be like psychotherapists or be able to start, going down that path. I think what the responsibility is that you've done something, you've made a huge contribution to this family just by identifying it. And then the next step, and we talked about this, would be sort of getting together some kind of like resource binder where when you did uncover issues that needed further support, that you could then say to a mom, you know what, there's a place that helps moms really who are struggling with feeling blue and depressed, and I'm going to help you get connected to them.
The initial interaction with the mom that is going to receive the rocking chair, when we call them, we're enthusiastic and congratulating them. I would have to say a lot of the moms, when they answer the phone, almost sound depressed, or it's monotone. Hello? And is this such and such? Yes. And by the time I'm done, the mother is much more expressive in talking, sharing information with me, and just saying congratulations and, validating with her what a wonderful thing it is that you just had a baby. By the end of it, she's much more effervescent and excited just from that short conversation that we have with her. And I actually feel the melting and the breaking down of the little depression there, a little overwhelmedness.
Moms in general, but especially moms who are in more disadvantaged situations, that the power of just having somebody really care about them, like I think you were saying the other day, just sometimes for these moms, no one's even ever congratulated them, especially like for teen moms. Just knowing that you care and that you see their role is really important, and that, again, just saying a few of these things at each visit, and especially at this home visit, that show that you respect them, that you want to hear their perspective, that you feel their pain, that you know how tough it can be, is enormous and can have really, really lasting effects. And that reminds me of that it's so small, really. And that's the beauty of it, is that in one visit with these families, you can have a really, really powerful influence on them. In a lot of ways, the client or the patient is the parent, because we're relying on them to sort of mete out a lot of the things we want to happen for that baby. And so framing the rocking chair as something for them, to nurture them, because their role is so important with their baby, is really, really critical.
The great thing is that every resident in the United States can only choose one of their moms during their obstetrics rotation, but it's their choice. That mom that they're concerned about, that mom that is more fragile, more vulnerable, that could stand a little TLC, a home visit, and usually that's how each resident chooses.
Just talking about the home visit for a few minutes, observe the parent-child interaction with a lot of intensity and immediacy in a much more comfortable atmosphere than often you have in the office. And you're also able to do a number of things that you can't do in the office, like assess safety issues. A lot of residents talk about what an impact it makes to see the family in their surroundings and the empathy they have once they see sometimes the environment that they're functioning in, whether it's very crowded or the resources are limited, or moms are walking up several stories many times a day, or even seeing the neighborhood and how easy or challenging or stressful it might be just to go through your day can already help you have a better sense of what it's like to walk in their shoes. You often often get to meet other members of the family. And that could be a whole nother talk about how you may engage other family members, but it's a really good way to know what the support's like and whether there is support or whether the family environment is more stressful for a family. So again, it just helps you walk in their shoes a little more and be able to be more empathic to what it might be like for them to be parenting. A lot of what I'm going to focus on are just sort of those everyday small things you can do that take 30 seconds but can have a big impact on parents. And actually, at some point, I'd love to ask Trish to read a recent quote from someone who did a rocking chair project home visit from another site and what a profound impact it had. And it was all about the connection. It had nothing to do with even providing medical care.
Here's the last one we received this morning. To be very honest, I don't think that either the patient or myself were prepared for the emotions of gratitude and feelings of achievement that can come out of after the rocking chair project assembly and delivery. My patient is an educated teenage mother with a good sense of practicality of life, and to her, a doctor coming to her home and doing what we do as part of the rocking chair project was incomprehensible. She was so happy and proud. I love what I did, and I felt good about it later on. So once again, it all comes down to the relationship.
From their perspective, sometimes it's a pretty big deal to open up their home to somebody who, is not a close friend or family, because it's vulnerable. They're really exposing themselves to you really seeing who they are in a very different way than when, they're in the office. And so, thanking them for inviting them into your home is important. And I think also, what we know from the research in terms of relationships and the greatest impact professionals can have on parents is when a parent feels that you get them and that you understand what it feels like to be them, they're much more open to whatever it is that you want to share with them. So picking up on anything that you see that they're doing that means that they really care about their baby and they really want to love and nurture them. So saying something like, whatever you see. Now, in a lot of these homes, I know that babies don't have their own room, but let's just say they did. You might say something like, oh, Sherry's room is so bright and cheerful. It's lovely, clear, you want to make it so nice for her. Something that lets them know that you see that they're really trying to do a good job. Especially with moms who are in disadvantaged situations, their self-esteem in general, but especially around parenting, is often extremely low. And any opportunity you have to sort of point out to the mom something she's doing that has a really positive impact on the baby is enormous. Parents having a positive impact on their baby, all the different ways they do that. Mom sits down in the rocking chair and starts singing to the baby. Using those as teachable moments by just saying something like, oh, that's such a beautiful song you're singing to her. Did you know that actually singing to your baby, even at this young age, is encouraging her language skills? That we know that singing to babies really eventually helps them learn new words and the meaning of words. Well, these are sort of like those aha moments that happen in these ordinary interactions you have with families, where all of a sudden now singing to the baby becomes something really important. So when they're not with you, they start to do it more because they see the power of it, and you've given it that power by just noticing and commenting on it. We know a lot now about language development and how important that back and forth interaction is for babies. And so even just commenting to a parent how the smiling back and forth with a baby is actually their first conversations. And when they smile at you and you smile back, you're actually letting them know that they're a really good communicator and that they're heard and that you're going to respond back. It makes them much more likely that they're going to be, that then leads later on to back and forth conversations. So again, you're sort of picking these very simple moments, but you're making the ordinary extraordinary. You talk to moms about what helped forge a connection. They'll often say they cared as much about me as they did about my baby. And now this is particularly important with teen moms because they're so used to, first of all, they're in a place anyway where they still want to be babied and nurtured themselves, and yet they have this baby they need to take care of. And you often, some of the parenting behaviors that are concerning with teenagers that you get concerned about, it's because they're still in this narcissistic place and they can't see the baby for who they are. And it can be very powerful just to let the teen mom know that you really care about her too. Makes it much more likely that when you give her some kind of suggestion or advice around the baby, that she'll do it because she thinks, okay, they care about the baby, but they also care about me. So always, asking the mom how she's doing. And obviously these are now strategies that you can use in any visit with a mom. You certainly don't have to be making a home visit, but just to really, hone in on how she's doing. And really, making a point to tell her how important it is for her to take care of herself, that her baby needs her to be strong and healthy. And so she, working with her on ways where she can get her needs met so that she can, nurture her baby is really important. Just a mom simply picking up a baby when the baby's crying and the baby calms, just taking that extra moment to say, wow, look at how he just melted into your arms and he calmed. You are providing him incredible sense of security and comfort. That's so important for him. Now he feels safe. That's really, really important for his development. It'll help him feel really good about himself as he grows. All of a sudden, picking up and calming your baby is, just much more than a functional action. It's something that makes her feel good about herself, and it's something you want her to be able to do when she goes home. So now when the baby's crying at home, she has this, memory of what you said about it, and she's much more likely to go and pick him up and be more nurturing, perhaps, than she might have been. Have a mom often who's complaining about the sleep. It's so common. And, letting her know that how tough it can be to get up in the middle of the night, because often what we do as professionals is go right to the what you can do. Oh, your baby's waking up in the middle of the night, here's what you should do. But they're still in the place of, I'm exhausted, I'm cranky, I'm resentful, and they're not open to hearing suggestions. But if you took, the extra minute and just said, it can be so tough, almost every new mom and dad I know are exhausted, and it can really be crazy making. I know it's really, really tough. Let's talk about some things that you might be able to do. You now have them in a completely different place with that 10-second piece of just acknowledging that you feel their pain can get you so much further in terms of them being able to listen to what it is you have to say because you validated their feelings. And you're also giving her sort of some of those aha moments, like the things that parents often don't fully appreciate. Like, for example, being gentle as you're changing your baby's diaper. I mean, how many parents stop and think about that, about the love and care that goes into that? One of the influences you have is being able to really take that moment in time if you're watching a mom or dad change a baby and just put words to it by saying you're being so gentle and caring. That lets him know that you really respect his feelings, that you want to be gentle with him, and that he can count on you to take good care of him. For a lot of parents, they're blown away. First of all, that a diapering experience is actually more than just changing a diaper, that it's an interaction, but you're also saying you're doing something really, really important for him in his development. So in that moment, you're doing a lot for that mom and baby, but the power of it is that when she leaves your office, she now has a different sense of her efficacy as a mom. And the hope is that the more you do that, if you just capture on those little moments, that she begins to go home and she starts to see those moments differently. Now she's changing a diaper and she sees this is really important for my baby's development. I'm making him feel safe. You're not going to induce in a parent, a feeling they don't have. It's going to actually have the opposite effect, that they don't feel so alone. And they're much more likely to talk about it and then do something about it. And so if if you're picking up that a parent is feeling any of, they're with the baby and they're saying, oh, he's bad, he never stops crying, you sort of hear some of those negative kinds of emotions and reactions, it can be really helpful just to say, you know what? It is. It's really, really frustrating. And you know what? It's very common and it's very normal to have mixed feelings. It's very, very normal. It's really stressful and it's okay to have those feelings. every mom feels that way at one point or another. Let's talk about how we can help you in this situation. You have a very different scenario now with this mom than if you had just gone right into, well, why don't you try this or why don't you try that? And that's why, I'm constantly going back to this idea of validating and normalizing, because your capital with the mom is your connection to her and her feeling that you get her, and that you feel her pain. And then you're going to have a much bigger impact with the really important information you have about taking care of her baby. Signal reading for new moms is really, really important, because, the best parenting happens when you're tuning in, obviously, to reading your baby's cues and responding as appropriately as possible. And so some strategies that can be really helpful is, let's say you see a baby, flailing around, and arching their back, to say to a mom, if your baby could, here I have your baby, but, if Simon could talk, what do you think he would say? These are sort of strategies that actually, it's less intrusive to a parent often, that they can sort of, it almost makes them an objective observer of their baby, which can be a really important strategy to help them tune in. Or even just sort of commenting on what you see the baby doing. So how many times have you been in a session where you can see the baby is desperately trying to get the mom's attention and she's just oblivious? So even just saying, oh, I see he's looking at you and he's turning his head, and what do you think he's trying to tell you? Instead of saying, I think it's time to pick up your baby, which can feel kind of critical to parents because they feel badly about it. So there's sort of these gentle ways of just asking the parent to tune into what they see their baby doing and what do they think it means. I've seen often, moms will be playing with babies to the point where the baby's done, and the mom keeps talking or playing or shaking the rattle, and the baby's now getting overstimulated, and they're doing that turning away and flailing their arms and legs. So instead of saying, I think he's had enough, which again to a parent can feel kind of like, oh, a little shamed, I didn't read the signals, the doctor did. All you have to do is say, what do you think he's trying to tell us? He's moving, what do you think? And then you can sort of do more gently, saying, you know what, I found that often babies will look away. It's sort of their way of saying, I'm on overload, I need a break now. There's a baby who all of a sudden, perks up or even, starts to cry because there's a lot of noise in the hallway. That's a great opportunity. Again, it can be 30 seconds just to say, oh, did you see? What do you think happened? There was all that noise in the hallway. Look at how much he's taking in. He's already noticing stimulation around him and responding to it. And that's really important for parents to get, is how their baby's reacting to the world around them and how they show them that. We went on a recent home visit a couple months ago where there were bumpers in the baby's crib. And of course, we know now that babies aren't supposed to have bumpers in the crib because of safety issues. In this situation, what you want to start with is something that's supportive of the parent so they don't feel criticized, so they're open to hearing what you have to say. So in this case, it might be, oh my gosh, I can see what a special effort you've made to make your baby's crib so cozy and warm. That's so nice. That's so important for babies, and it really makes her feel loved. But I'm concerned about the bumpers, and here's why. And then you very carefully explain your perspective. But you've done it with first acknowledging their perspective, which is, I want it to be cozy and nice for my baby. But having done that, it makes them much more likely to listen to what you have to say because you've respected where they're coming from and they haven't shut down. So then you can say, I'm worried about the bumpers, and it's so normal that you did this, but here's what we know about it. It's a concern, and you explain very, concretely why, because of suffocation, and obviously everybody's number one job is to keep the baby safe. So what should we do about it? And then you problem solve with them. They can take the bumpers out, but what are other ways they can make the baby feel cozy? Can they put them in one of those wedges, or what are the safe ways for them to make their baby feel cozy? Another really nice strategy that can be very powerful is communicating information through the child and putting the child's actions into words. Are you telling us you've had enough of that rattle? So you see the baby. I had one situation where the mom kept really wanted this baby to play with the rattle and kept sort of forcing the rattle into the baby's hand, and the baby's flailing it and doing everything possible to show this mom, I'm really not interested in this rattle right now. So rather than just saying, I think he's done, you might start with, it's so great to engage your baby with toys. Toys are so great for him, but it looks like he's sort of telling us, I'm not so interested in this rattle right now. So a lot of it is sort of just, the way you do it can be, can make or break, how the parent hears the information you're trying to share with her. It's your chance to, again, sort of elevate their awareness about these different things, so that when you leave, now that's the whole idea, that the rocking chair has that meaning for them. Oh, I remember, Dr. Smith said it's really soothing to babies to be rocked. Or, when I sat down and started singing to her, I remember Dr. Smith saying, how great that was for her feeling good about herself, and that she was loved just by me singing to her, and that actually it was going to build her language development. She's much more likely to get into that chair again and start singing to her baby. And that's the power, is you're sort of just using these everyday ordinary moments to sort of make them extraordinary to the family. It's ending the visit. And it's very much along the lines of the other things we've talked about, where you're just showing respect for them having had you in their home, and for, closing with something that shows, how warm and loving they've been, to their baby, and really ending on a note where they really feel, respected and obviously, validated for the important role they're playing. And, the whole idea is that it's one visit, but that it really extends obviously far beyond that, because you continue to see the family in the office, and the hope and expectation is that after you've made that kind of attachment to them, that they're much more likely to come for visits, they're much more likely to tell you a lot more about what's going on, which means that you're going to have a much greater influence because that trusting bond has been established early on. I just want to emphasize the fact that, in all of the research in the helping professions, including in medicine, time and again, when you talk to parents about what was the most important factor in that relationship with that provider, is the relationship itself. It's not even necessarily the service that was provided to them, but the most impactful feature is the trust and sense of caring and support they had from that person. It's enormous.
I just printed out today, one of the things when you participate in the Rocking Chair Project is that we get the evaluation of how the home visit went. Many residents will tell us they had a good relationship before the home visit, but this only enhanced it and further strengthened the physician-patient bond after this. And many residents will use what a profound impact it had on them in terms of reminding them why they chose family medicine in the first place. It just hit home, like this is why I became a family medicine doctor.